Recording now.
We are live. Okay. Welcome everyone to the meeting of the Bridgewater Zoning Board of Appeals. My name is Brian Heath, I'm chairman. With us, we have Jerry Chipman, vice chair, and Anna Klimas, member. Still pursuant to the Governor Baker's order suspending certain provisions of the open meetings. This meeting, as you know, is live on Zoom. There's no in-person attendance of the members of the public will be permitted, but every effort is made to ensure that the public can be adequately access procedures in real time. This meeting is being recorded. Within 48 hours, we'll be posting the link on the town website. The following town staff people are participating remotely as well. Jennifer Burke, the Community and Economics Development Director, and Jasmine Farinacci, Executive Assistant. At this time, all the mics are muted. The board's mics will be unmuted throughout the whole meeting. And as it appears on the agenda, the project representative's mics will be unmuted. The project is a public hearing and allows for public comment. We'll ask you to use the chat feature to ask your questions by listing your name and address and your question. Chair will recognize all questions in the order that they are presented. You can also use the raise my hand feature in the participant menu, and you will be unmuted when the chair recognizes you. Again, please state your name and address before asking your question. If you're on the phone, you can use the *9 feature to raise your hand and ask a question. At this time, we're going to call the meeting to order. Before us, we have two petitions tonight. There is a petition in relation to a variance. It's a frontage variance for property located at 1998 South Street in Bridgewater. And our second item on the agenda is a use variance for some property on Plymouth Street. We're going to open the meeting with the 998 South Street. The applicants are Slate Rock Farms Realty Trust. The owners are Dan and Brenda Franz. And who will be representing the applicant for 1998 South Street?
I think that's Rebecca.
Oh, Rebecca is.
Unmute. Helps if I'm unmuted. Hi, Rebecca, Silver Engineering. Courtesy of Larry's vacation. I'll try to present this meeting tonight.
Thank you.
All right.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep. So we have a parcel of property that's approximately.
I was just going to read the hearing notice.
Okay.
Sorry. Do I have to, Jennifer? Right? We should, right?
We should, yep.
Yeah.
The Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on April 28th, 2021 at 7 p.m. for an application filed by Slate Rock Farms Realty Trust, 10 Bedford Park, Suite 4, Bridgewater, MA, who is seeking a variance from Section 8 of the Bridgewater zoning ordinances to subdivide 1998 South Street into 3 individual lots. Lot 2 has 147.41 feet of frontage, 2.59 feet less than the 100 feet of frontage required under Section 8. Said property is owned by Daniel and Brenda Franz and is located at 1998 South Street, Bridgewater, MA 02324, as shown on Assessor's Map 125, Lot 16. Area is zoned residential AB. The public hearing will be held as a virtual meeting over Zoom. A link and instructions to participate in the meeting will follow and be posted to the calendar and at the town's website at www.bridgewaterma.org. A recording of the meeting will also be posted on the town's webpage within 48 hours after the meeting ends.
Okay. So Rebecca, take it away.
Well, Mr. Silva here, he's not here this evening because of his vacation. So I thought I should start, if you don't mind, if I could read the letter he wrote for the variance request and continue from there. Dear board members, the subject site shown as Assessor's Map 125 Lot 16 with the street address of 1998 South Street. The subject lot has a total of 4.2 acres and has been the site of a residential home since 1880. The lot area far exceeds the minimum requirements for 3 house lots in the residential AB zoning district. However, the frontage required for 3 lots is shy of the 450 feet needed by 2.59 feet. Further relief from the requirement to meet the minimum length at the setback line would require relief of 9.72 feet from the width of the lot at the setback. As shown on the plan, provided the lot identified as Lot 2 would be entirely uplands and house construction would meet all applicable setback requirements. The hardship for this request is that the shape of the land is narrow and long, not providing the needed frontage while easily meeting the land area requirements. The zoning regulations would allow for a buildable lot to contain as much as 50% bordering vegetated wetlands. However, the lot requiring relief would be entirely uplands. The neighborhood includes 5 recently completed estate lots, which only have 30 feet of frontage. Other existing homes along South Street have frontages ranging from 103 feet to 150 feet. I look forward to discussing this in more detail at your next meeting. Mr. Silver. So if Jasmine would mind pulling up the plan, I would really appreciate it.
No problem.
And then we can further discuss what we're looking for here. We initially looked at the lot. It has over 4 acres. We looked at putting in a cul-de-sac with waivers, and we saw that there was a lot of buffer impact to the river. So we thought, well, let's see if we can get a variance from the 2.59 needed to get 3 house lots fronting South Street and in harmony with the abutters across the street, which really only have 125 feet each, as they were under residential B zoning. If the board wishes, the applicant is willing to concede the parcel in the back for a conservation or a public benefit in order to support the request for this variance. And the public benefit would be access. We would have to revise this to show an easement so that you could access the parcel that is right adjacent to the Taunton River. And perhaps throw in a dock or some sort of canoe landing or some Boy Scout expedition trip that could be done out here.
Okay, so so roughly that's about what, one little over an acre back there?
It's just a little over an acre. Yep.
Okay.
And again, it would be the Lot 2. Thank you, Jasmine. Beautiful, beautiful timing there. On the southern end of this plan would be Lot 2 would be the only one that would require that we're seeking the variance.
Okay.
All of the work you can see, every lot here would be outside of the wetlands or any sort of work. I did have an aerial if you wanted to see what that looked like as well.
It's up to the rest of what I had gone on and went by the property the other day as
Okay.
well.
Okay.
Rebecca, when you say a dock, are you talking about something similar to Mr. Moran's that was
Mr.
done on
Murphy, yes,
Plymouth- Mr. Murphy on Plymouth
Yes.
Street?
Yes, something similar. I know Kitty would be loving, or even Harry Bailey, Taunton River Watershed would love a piece off near the Taunton River here. We could start discussions with them.
And
So
how would
again,
you
What we're looking for is really it's the 2 point something feet on the frontage and then the little setback. Otherwise, the proposed buildings meet all side, rear,
All side, all rear, all
wetland,
areas,
all setbacks.
everything else. And we looked at, well, is there a possible way to, we even resurveyed most of South Street looking for evidence that maybe there was something older evidence that we could hold and still try to support that we had enough frontage, but we don't. The lot immediately to the, let's see, to the left is a 1 acre lot, 150 feet, and the lot immediately to the right, 150 feet of frontage, 1 acre. So there was no wiggle to try to, you know, make this work with the constraints that were existing.
Okay. I'm sorry, I think I cut you off, Jerry. You were
I was going to ask, and how would you propose accessing that area of the dock for canoeing,
Well,
passive recreation?
the applicant and the owner, at one point, we discussed a 12-foot easement straddling lot 1 and 2. Because nothing's really been worked out quite yet, it hasn't been shown on the plan. but I would say if this is where the board would like to be, we would revise the plan prior to doing anything else.
Thank you.
And then we discussed where you'd park. Well, Sturtevant Pond does have some public parking with a couple of signs. You could find this path very easily.
Those Sturtevant's got a lot of space there.
Anna or Jerry, do you have any additional questions on this?
No, I think seems pretty straightforward, and I do like that they come in looking to give something, not just ask for something. And I know that getting access points in neighborhood areas to the river is a nice positive part of this.
Also, as I said, go on Google. I looked at it, and I looked at the surrounding homes and the size of the lots. And again, there's a residential B perspective on the other side. So
essentially,
they are smaller. These are full acre lots.
And they're all right along.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
it's okay.
Two things. Our building official, zoning enforcement officer, Steve Solari, is here. He joined a little bit late, so I just wanted to let you know that in case the board had any questions for him. And also, I was notified in the chat that a couple of people have had some trouble hearing early on in the presentation and missed the beginning part of Rebecca's presentation. So I didn't know if Rebecca could just repeat the part of the presentation, like the beginning part, and explain the beginning part, maybe read Larry's letter again.
Is that, did you want me to read the letter again?
It's up to the chairman. I'm just letting you know what people.
Or maybe you could post the letter on the
chairman.
screen again.
However the chairman wants to proceed. I'm just letting you know what people are saying in the chat.
If you can blow it up and they can review it. I mean, the letter itself, I'll quickly read it here. The subject site, again, and this is to the town of Bridgewater Board of Appeals, dear board members. Subject site is shown on the Assessor's Map 125, Lot 16, with a street address of 1998 South Street. The subject lot has a total of 4.2 acres and has been the site of a residential home since 1880. The lot area far exceeds the minimum requirements for 3 house lots in the residential AB zoning district. However, the frontage required for 3 lots is shy of the 450 feet needed by 2.95 feet. Further relief would be required for to meet the minimum length at the setback line, which would require relief of 9.72 feet with the width of the lot at the setback. As shown on the plan provided, the lot identified as Lot 2 would be entirely uplands. The house construction would meet all applicable setback requirements. The hardship for this request is that the shape of the land is narrow and long, not providing the needed frontage while easily meeting the land area requirement. The zoning regulations would allow for a buildable lot to contain as much as 50 percentage bordering vegetation wetlands. However, the lot require relief will be the entire uplands. The neighborhood includes 5 recently completed estate lots that only have 30 feet of frontage. Other existing homes along South Street have frontage ranging from 103 feet to 150 feet. We look forward to discussing this in more detail at the next meeting. Sincerely, Larry Silva. And as for those people who join, Rebecca is representing Larry from Silva Engineering Associates. If there aren't any additional questions from the board members, or if, Rebecca, if you're all set, we can open up the meeting. I know there's a lot of people in the audience, and I'm assuming they have some questions. So why don't we open the meeting up to public comment and questions. Again, hopefully, please state your name and address with your question.
We have a question from Scott Fletcher. I can unmute him and he can ask his question.
Okay. Scott, you with us?
Yeah, sorry about that. I had to hit unmute here. Hi, we're on 2025 South Street, which I think on the map was directly across from lot, was it in the middle there, lot 1?
Okay.
Right between the two. My biggest concern, and I don't know if this question is appropriate for this meeting necessarily, but my biggest concern is around drainage. The water table is extremely high on the northerly side of South Street. We have, the sump pumps on all the time on myself and Laurie and Bill Shaw's house. When the developments went into the west of our plot a few years back, we had major drainage issues. We had 3 to 4 feet of water pooling on the side of the house here. A tunnel was open, or a tunnel was, I guess, relieved on down right on the northwest corner of lot 2. I think it would be a tunnel under the road had been cleared and water started flowing through there. So there's currently water that's flowing under South Street down the northwest side of lot 2. I'm just wondering how that's going to be handled. Are we still going to be able to get relief under the road down into the river naturally? That's kind of my first question. The second question is around elevation of the lots. Are they going to be elevated higher than the street? That would essentially act as a dam in my plot, and that would pose a problem. Or are they going to be lower, in which case I don't really understand because the water table is so low. I think the houses would be underwater essentially. So I'm just curious how that's going to be handled.
Well, as you said, and maybe Rebecca has some information on this, but to your point, the drainage and the requirements would all be part of the building permit. We actually, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, please, because we're not qualified. We don't deal with that in this meeting. And I'm not trying to put you off. It's just that that's not part of our purview here. But Rebecca, do you have any understanding of what the applicant is proposing and how? I mean, if there's currently drainage on the parcel, I can't believe that they'd be allowed to block or remove or do anything in relation to that.
The furthest we've gotten was proposing this and doing test pits and perk tests to support the house lots for Board of Health. So we did have groundwater at 52 inches roughly. So we haven't gone any further. We really haven't done a lot of topography or a site design yet either because we didn't know which way we were going to be going.
Is there town sewer down in that area?
No.
No, so these would have to take septic, and you said
Yes,
you hit water at 52 inches?
roughly. There was a few of them, 52, 54. Yeah. So the houses will have to be graded to suit the area. The septics will probably be in the front. Maybe this is a walkout design. I'm not really sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
We also have Belinda and Danielle Barrett have a question. You can unmute yourselves.
Ladies?
They're
Belinda,
unmuted,
Danielle?
but
Pardon?
they're unmuted, but I don't hear anything, so I'm not sure if their sound is working. No. No. I think they're having trouble with their audio.
Are there other questions that we can go to?
Yeah, can we go somewhere else and we'll come back to them?
I don't see anybody else in the chat, and I don't see anybody with their hand raised. Oh,
Mr.
Kevin
Walker has his
Walker.
hand.
Yep, I just raised it. Go ahead, Mr. Walker.
Hey, how you doing? I'm Kevin Walker. I'm at 233 Main Street. I'm actually friends with the Barretts with their faulty computer. I just want to mention a couple things that have already been discussed. I guess really the first was there is no topography on this plan. And we have a floodplain that would affect the lot configuration. We have wetlands that would affect the lot configuration. It doesn't appear like any wetlands have been delineated. This is taken from a registry of deeds plan. So, I mean, at this point, there's no way for the board to know exactly what you're dealing with lot-wise. We don't know if this is all upland. It hasn't been flagged. It hasn't been confirmed with an ANRAD and an ORAD from conservation, so that there's no way of knowing if lot 1 has 48,000 square, or whatever it is, 48,000 square feet of 46,000 square feet of upland, or 15,000 square feet of upland. Same with the open space parcel in the back. It's nice that there's a parcel back there, but those wetlands could extend out 80 feet. We don't know because it hasn't been flagged. Also, the floodplain is at elevation 22 or 22.2. And again, with no topo being done, there's no way of telling where that is. So there's still a lot of unanswered questions. It's nice that it's been perked, because that was a question of mine too, but there are just too many unknowns on this to even approve this. And I'm not asking or telling the board what to do, but there's really no way to actually vote on this thing, because you don't have all of the information required to make an actual decision. Because we don't know what these lots, the areas are, the acreage is, and so on and so forth. And just a few other things I guess I'll go through. I already mentioned the wetlands survey. I mean, I also question the hardship. Because you're short 3 feet isn't necessarily a hardship. They are going to be able to get one more lot. So there's certainly not a hardship there. They're benefiting from having enough frontage. The fact that they're short 3 feet, I mean, that's tough for everyone. You know, Mr. Silva's letter about estate lots. I mean, estate lots are something that are relatively new to the zoning bylaw, and those lots are well over an acre to be an estate lot. And on top of that, these lots in the area with 103 feet of frontage were probably put together back in the 1800s, before frontage was really even a thing. So I don't really see a hardship on the frontage end of things. You know, to grant a variance on something like this, you know, the board already knows it's got to be conditioned on soil conditions, shape and topography of the land, and so on and so forth. This bylaw, I mean, this plan is strictly a financial, try for a financial grab. They're able to split this into 2 lots legally is not an issue doing that. The fact they're short 3 feet isn't really relevant as far as I'm concerned. They're still getting economic benefit on the lot with being able to create the second lot. So there doesn't really seem to be an issue presented relating to soil conditions, shape of the land, topography, that would involve substantial hardship. Now, that said, should the board ignore everything I just said, I think granting a variance would be okay, should the board decide to. And I understand this isn't part of the board's purview, but you can certainly make it a condition of your approval. And this goes to the flooding issues across the street and the culvert under the street and so on and so forth, to allow, prior to getting a building permit, at least having the abutters have an engineer hired at the applicant's expense to review the grading plans on the septic designs. Again, I don't believe there's a hardship, but if the board allows the third lot, they're basically getting a free 85, 90 grand for a house lot. To spend, you know, $3 to $5 grand to have somebody review 2 septic plans and the grading on those lots, I think would be fair to the abutters, and I think it would be fair to the applicant as well. At the very least, these lots should be graded downward from South Street to a low point and then come back up to the house lots. If that means setting the houses back a little bit further, great, but that will ensure that any runoff from the front of the lots will come back towards the house into a swale, go around the sides of the house, and then get eventually into the Taunton River without even getting into South Street. I mean, again, that's just a little, you know, design parameter that would obviously work for everyone too. So that's my 2 cents on this. And if anybody has any questions on what I had to say, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Rebecca, in regards to Mr. Walker's comments, you know, the plan really doesn't show any grading, or how does this land slope? Does it slope towards the river? Does it slope towards the street?
It slopes towards the river, the first front of these lots, and then towards the wetland area it starts to drop off. This plan actually does show a floodplain from a GIS. So we do account for the floodplain there. I know Larry has walked the site, so he would have a little more info on it, but I do know that it slopes towards the river, and then there's a significant drop off where the wetlands kind of take place.
And where's the wetlands?
The gray hatch there is the wetlands from an older plan, but it still follows the topography I can see from LiDAR when I looked at LiDAR, and it follows the FEMA floodplain, that pinkish line that kind of is there.
I see.
It appears that Mr. Walker has his hand raised again.
Hi, thanks again, Kevin Walker, 233 Main Street. I guess my point is I understand that the wetlands were flagged way back when and LiDAR to assume contour elevations. But again, the floodplain has actually been calculated to have a floodplain of elevation 22 or 22.2. And again, without any actual topography on the plan, I mean, you're going to have to do topography on the lots anyway. If you've done perks, you're going to have to do topography.
We have to do an entire site design for this.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think that should be shown before the board's able. I mean, I don't see how the board can make a decision without seeing it on a plan. That's all. Thank you.
Any questions from the other board members in regards to Mr. Walker's points made?
I must say, Mr. Walker brings up some really valid points, and I would like to hear more about the hardship. I mean, I think it's almost being self-created by the imposition of the 3 lots versus the 2. So can you talk to me a little bit about what this hardship is and why we shouldn't consider it self-created?
Rebecca?
Yeah, these are one of those moments where you're like, I don't have enough experience with being able to answer that. And I'm like, wow, all right, what's the hardship? The land doesn't have enough for 450.
But the land itself, you're right, it doesn't have, each lot is required 150 foot frontage.
Right,
The land
yes.
itself is shy. And right now it's a single lot.
Well, we looked at a subdivision, a little cul-de-sac that would fit the lots and everyone would have frontage, and it just looked, honestly, it looked goofy. Okay, it stuck the houses in the back, it stuck the houses in the buffer to the riverfront. It caused so much more impact, not necessarily bad or good, but that it just seemed this giving the parcel in the back to the town for access felt better when it comes to the riverfront, as opposed to a 2-lot subdivision with a cul-de-sac and throwing the houses in the back and kind of throwing the neighborhood, out of whack. It just didn't feel, and I could probably pull it up if you wanted to see it, but it was just
Well, how many lots were you going to do in the subdivision?
we were only going to get 2, the same 2. We weren't going to get any more.
So, but now you're looking for 3.
No, I'm sorry, 2 new, 1 existing. The subdivision would have only been for 2 lots. The existing, the
Lot 1 and-
1998 would be cut out on its own lot.
Okay,
So the net would be 2 new and 16A. So you'd only get the lot 1 and lot 2 and 16A, and no parcel 16B. Because the house, once you put the cul-de-sac in, the house sat pretty much sandwiched between the 50-foot setback to a wetland and the frontage. Yeah, right there.
So you're talking, you'd be putting a cul-de-sac, a road down the property
I
line
would-
between 1 and 2?
I would be putting a road down the property line with a cul-de-sac. It would be a driveway for 2 lots. We wouldn't have to deal with drainage because it's 2 lots. But the houses ended up so much further back and into the riverfront that we thought it would be best if we just stayed out of the riverfront and asked for a relief from the setback and allowed the houses to stay parallel to South Street instead of staggered in the back.
So how are you gonna get the square footage requirement? If
There's
you're,
enough,
yeah, but
there's enough land.
you're using the part
Yep.
of the lot. If I understand you, you're putting in a road, but you're using portions of the lot to, and you're getting your frontage on that road that you're putting in.
Right, there's 4 acres there. Each of those new lots ended up with about 50,000 square feet. Plus the little roadway. It's kind of it was a little bit bigger than Duck Pond Estates, that little thing.
So basically you'd be carving into what
Yeah.
is parcel, does it
Well,
say
it'd be 1 and
10?
2. I kind of left 16A alone, so if I were to put a cul-de-sac in, it would be somewhere in between lot 1 and 2.
Right,
And it would go about halfway down the lot, and then I would still be able to get frontage. My houses would be closer into the riverfront. The town would not receive a parcel and access to the river. And it would still work, but it wouldn't look right. It wouldn't feel right. Go
But
ahead.
now what is the plan with 16A? So if this variance is granted, what's the plan with 16A? Because right now you're only talking in the second B cul-de-sac, you're talking about lot 1 and lot 2 and leaving 16A alone. If the
16A would have a parcel cut out for them. Again, about 50,000 square feet. If I were to do
variance,
a,
no, but I'm saying if we were to grant you the variance, what is the plan for 16A?
what you see in front of you,
it stays its own lot.
it
Okay,
stays its own lot.
okay,
Yes,
that's what I was looking for clarification.
I'm sorry. Okay, yes, it would stay like that.
So, but all the lots right now, what I'm trying to understand is all the lots right now are approximately an acre, a little bit more.
Yep.
Not much. So if you put a cul-de-sac road down between 1 and 2, you'd
Mhm.
be grabbing portions of the 16B to add on to the other 2 lots to get.
Oh, yeah, there
to
would be no 16B. Yes, absolutely not. There
You'd
would be
have
no
to
parcel
pull.
for the town.
And you would pull the land from
Mhm.
there to meet your minimum
Yep.
square footage requirements.
Yep.
And you would meet your 50-foot frontage and
Yep.
you'd still have the houses.
Yep.
Yeah.
And lot 2 ended up looking, the backyard was actually going to be facing 2040 South Street just because of the way the shape. You'd have to, front setback thing. You would have a funny looking lot. You'd have a funny looking house. It wouldn't fit with what you have so far out here. All the houses along South Street.
Mhm.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, based on, I'm just thinking, we're sort of getting out of what we're looking at, but based on Mr. Walker and Mr. Fletcher's comments, I'd like to see more. I'd like to see the topography there, and just sort of keep us focused on what's in front of us, as opposed to other things they've looked at. But I feel as though it's somewhat incomplete. I agree with the first 2 comments that came through, and I'd certainly be open to asking for a continuance, whatever if the proponent is open to it, so that we could get more data.
Mr. Chairman, we do have a Lenia Driscoll with her hand raised. Driscoll, yeah, Driscoll, sorry.
Okay, and Jerry, just to answer, the reasons for my questions is I was trying to investigate a little bit about, could they get 2 lots anyways? And if they could, which is the least disruptive of the approvals? Throwing in a road and all that to the neighborhood, this little thing to me isn't the best idea. But to the points made of some of the commenters, Mr. Walker, and so, the question, it's legit. I mean, as far as the topography, and you're hitting the water at 52 inches, so you're going to raise these houses up. That's going to shove all the water down towards the street.
But like Mr. Walker said, we would swale. That's
Yeah,
there's plenty of land. You swale the front yard so that they go down the sides of each.
Right.
And you allow the access point of the water beyond the.
And that's something that the building department would have to review and approve.
Correct.
That's,
and
again, I understand people's comments, but that's not our area of expertise or our area that we're allowed to really rule on.
We would do our due diligence as engineers to make sure that we don't shed water onto abutting properties.
Well, yeah, and the building inspector wouldn't let you do it anyways.
No.
But we had, excuse me, but Jen, you said there was somebody else in the queue to.
Yeah, Lenia Driscoll. I hope I said that right. Sorry.
Hi, Lania Driscoll. I'm actually across the street at 2033 South Street. It's a two-part statement, actually. So I know you just mentioned that as engineers, you make sure that you don't create any water issues. But unfortunately, when my property was built, we created a water issue to Mr. Scott Fletcher next door, and that's been ongoing. So we have an issue there with water, and we have a drainage area with a culvert that crosses South Street into Lot 2. And that is a constant problem. Anytime it rains, we have, 2 feet of water. It's just a disaster. And my other part of my question is this lot, the property across the street was actually at one time a junkyard. Has any soil testing been done regarding fluids from vehicles and everything? Or at what point does that get done?
Nothing like that has been done at this point that I'm aware of.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, I'm not qualified to understand, the flow of, because it wasn't on the property that's before us now. It's across the street, and the question being, water flows underground, of course, but I would assume that would have to be taken up with the building department or the town's environmental group.
Yeah, because when they completed my house, the builder was supposed to kind of remediate that water issue with Mr. Fletcher's property, and that was never completed, and no one ever, from the town came to make sure that was done. So as neighbors, we've been trying to figure out, how to, take care of that problem, but it's only going to add to it by, especially if they're going to be uplands across the street, it's going to be draining right back into the street, right back into our properties that are already having ongoing issues. And that's a very big concern. And the Hanleys, who actually are directly next to Lot 2, they actually had to build a berm to keep water from going into their lot and their garage. And this is all wetlands, even though you show, the wetlands being further back, that area is a swampland. It boggles my mind that they would think that it would be okay to build 3 houses on top of that swamp, but that's pretty much all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Walker has his hand raised again.
There's also a Robin Thomas as well, if she'd like to ask a question after Mr. Walker.
Thank you, appreciate it. Everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. I'm gonna kind of go off on one tangent for a bit, and then I'll get back on what I was talking about before. I just had a question on the access to the river. It doesn't have to be answered right now. I'm just kind of curious as to where people would park to access the river. That's not overly important at this point, but I guess there's a couple things. One, if there is a drain line under South Street, this plan is going to have to show an easement that leaves everything free and clear to allow that water to flow to the river. That's again, That goes back to having the topography on the plan and some sort of grading that shows that it can be done. And as far as the building inspector and the grading on the lot, the building inspector doesn't really look at the grading on the lot. The Board of Health doesn't really look at the grading on the lot. And it may be a little bit out of the ZBA's purview, but I think, and I don't want to speak for all the neighbors, but I think the neighbors would be fine not putting a road, and a road can be done. I actually drew it out. And also, besides a cul-de-sac, you can go in with a 40-foot right-of-way with a 60-foot long T turnaround instead of a cul-de-sac and create your frontage that way. So it doesn't have to be a huge cul-de-sac. That aside, you know, there are no real regulations on this, the grading of a lot. There just isn't. It's just the way it is. So I think, and again, if the neighbors want to speak up on their own, they can, but I think once the wetlands are actually done and the topography is shown, I don't think everyone would be opposed to this so much, as long as the ZBA would allow or require the applicant to have the septic plans reviewed by an engineer of the abutter's choice, just to ensure that give the neighbors you know, a little confidence that, one, the grading is actually being reviewed, and two, that they're sure that it's not going to affect them. I don't think it's completely out of the ZBA's purview to require that as a condition of approval. And I think, and again, I don't want to speak for everyone, I think that would go a long way towards the neighbors just saying, you know, go for it, do the 3 lots like you have it here. Don't worry about doing a subdivision, but we really should still see the wetlands and the topo. Thank you very much.
Sure. Hey, Jen, you said Steve's here with us.
Yes.
Could Steve be allowed in? I just have a couple of questions for him.
He's unmuted. You can ask him questions.
Steve, how are you?
How are you tonight?
Living the dream, brother. Hey,
What can I do for you?
well, listening to this and, you know, and thinking about it myself, I mean, I actually went by the lots, well, the parcel, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't go out and walk it. I looked, you know, everything seemed okay to me as far as the lot. It wasn't sloping towards the house, to the street. It looked as if it was going back towards the river, which usually is the case. But to Mr. Walker's kind of point, I mean, who actually, who approves the septic plans and all that?
Septic plans, well, as you know, I'll just give a quick scenario. When we do a permit in the building department, everything's online. So what happens is we, in this case, we send it out for sign-offs. So basically, we send a sign-off to the highway department. We send a sign-off to the Board of Health for the septic. I send a sign-off back to the ZBA, to Jasmine and Jen, to make sure that all the legalities are taken care of. Basically, we're going off the engineer's expertise that they are creating the swale and moving the water or moving the water around away from the property. As you know, most of your new homes today built on existing land, especially in any towns that have the last phrase water at the end of it, Bridgewater, East Bridgewater, West Bridgewater, they're all up in the air. You don't see any houses going in the ground anymore. They're all picked up. That's why you see so many walkout basements, but because you can't get the septic to work because it's too close to the water level. But these are all reviewed by the Board of Health, and again, we use the expertise of the engineer doing it. We do in the building department look at basically the topo and way it swales, because as you know, we handle all the complaints in town, and water is a big complaint. And I'm dragged out to a lot of homes, older homes, when someone's water is going into their property or someone's water is going to other properties. So anything new, we do review because we don't want, you know, any issue. And again, this is a tough one because the ZBA is here to make the determination on the legal use of the land and not really the engineering or how it's being built. That falls under the building department, engineering, whatever. This hearing is basically on what does it meet zoning. That's pretty much what's for, the zoning requirement the legal determination for zoning. I mean, there's a lot of good points that got brought up, but it really comes down to, we're here to determine if the zoning meets or doesn't meet the requirement and what will be the final outcome. But as a building department, I do reassure everybody, pretty much all our town departments really look into it. And I will be on, and you can ask Jen, a lot of times if we have something, we have questions, we could always bring in our town engineer to get some advice, so.
Mr. Chairman, just through you to Jen. Jen, this, it looks as though it would probably go before the planning board to have the Form As approved.
The Form A would go before the planning board, but that doesn't involve the review of houses or drainage or anything like that. The Form A is strictly lot line approvals.
Yeah.
But aren't they required by the planning board when they submit a Form A plan to show the drainage?
No.
Show the drainage in the street, et cetera?
No. Not on a
When
Form
did that
A.
change?
It's residential.
That's always
21
been,
ye-
they've had
in the
to show
21 years I've
contours
been-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
21 years I've been doing planning, they've never had to do that on a Form A.
Wow.
Yeah.
When I was on the
I
planning
mean,
board,
some
it's a
people
long time
may
ago,
do,
but,
some
it
people
was-
may do it at their own volition, but it's not a requirement under Mass General Law.
I would just, like I said, when I was on the planning board, it was always required to show drainage in the street. I know Form A just deals with frontage. However, it was always required to show where the placement of the house would be, any other structures that may be on the lot that are going to be raised, and the drainage in the street.
It's not required under the law.
And, you know, I kind of alluded to it a little bit, and Steve kind of brought it up to the point here too, is, again, asking Rebecca in relation to her other options and looking at those. The thing is, they can get 2 lots out of this. Now, how they look, I don't, I'll take a word that they wouldn't look too kindly. I know that, again, on a partial 16B, they'd have to grab land from that to meet the minimum lot size requirement as well. Even if, I just don't see where building the houses on this in relation to our decision tonight, which is roughly a say rounded 3-foot variance, is going to change anything. It gets down to, as kind of Steve said, when these lots are approved and the housing designs with septic and everything else are submitted, they're going to have to be taking into consideration the water drainage and everything as well. On something like this, and Jen, let me know, but I've been on the board for a little while, quite a few years. We've never had anything like that where, we as the zoning board can say to, okay, applicant, you also have to spend money to go get an independent review of your plans. It doesn't really carry anything.
No,
Then you're
the
gonna
only
get
time-
engineers arguing about.
Yeah, the only time you would do that is like on a 40B project
40B,
or, yeah, something like that. And a variance question like this, there would not typically be a reason to have the engineer involvement. I mean, your jurisdiction is strictly the frontage and the variance needed for the correct frontage here.
Doesn't it fall under whether or not it's a substantial detriment to the public good? I mean, if there is going to be all of this flooding to the neighbors, and so the public good will be kind of affected, I don't know.
Well, but that's why I was asking about, Rebecca, the questions. If they throw in a cul-de-sac here, they can get 2 lots. It's still going to get
Okay.
impacted. The question then becomes is what's the lesser of the 2 evils potentially? I would hope, again, because it's
And I
outside of our
think,
purview.
I think you have to look at the substantial detriment to the public good. Is the frontage what's causing the substantial detriment to the public good, or the construction of the houses? The variance on the frontage, just because you grant a variance on the frontage doesn't give them a building permit to build the houses. That
Right.
would be
Or
the building department's.
set as to what design they have to do, or where they
Right.
build, or anything like that.
Or where they put their septic system or anything to that effect.
That's the delineation here, and that's, again, when they go before the building department.
Well, certainly, Mr. Chairman, I would say that the cul-de-sac obviously creates much more impervious surface.
Well, that's the other thing I was thinking is now you're gonna get into the roads and the runoff on the road, and you know, the reality is they can build 2 houses on these lots. Well, they can get permits to build 2 houses, and they have to design them and everything. But
Well, let's be clear. I mean, they would still have to go before the planning board for a 2-lot subdivision.
yeah,
So there's no guarantee that they can build. I mean, it's likely they can design to build 2 houses on these lots, but without an approval from the planning board for a 2-lot subdivision, there is no guarantee they can build 2 houses on these. So let's be clear about that.
This is true as well. Do you have any?
I think there was, I
Pardon?
think Jasmine, who did you say had a question? Was it Robin Thomas?
It was Robin Thomas, yes.
Okay.
Yes, it was Robin Thomas, 25 Tecumseh Circle, Bridgewater. I understand that the zoning board only has the permission to allow or not allow within your scope of allowance is, can they have a waiver on what we allow in Bridgewater? With that being said, and property being so close to wetlands, if not being wetlands themselves, I would think you don't have the allowance to build on wetland, so you don't have the zoning pervious or the zoning allowance to waive those rights. In other words, if a portion of that property is wetlands, you really can't zone it to be not a wetland. So shouldn't the Concom have a walk of that site to determine if it's even property that can be built upon before you allow them to have a waiver of the zoning board?
Well, actually, in relation to that, the zoning, as you kind of point out, alluded to a little here, is that the zoning board and with the applicant, you know, if we granted this 3-foot variance, they would now have 3 lots. To your point, they just have 3 lots. They got to see if they can even build on those. But now they're stuck with 3 lots. And if when they go to do this, you know, and this is where, you know, Concom would come in after this. It's not part of this. It's not prior to. It's after, and they would, you know, have to delineate. You know, get a botanist in and map out to see if the wetlands are still where they're supposed to be and all that. But again, that's really post the decision here. This is purely to say, is there reason to grant a 3-foot variance roughly on a 150-foot frontage? Everything you mentioned is correct and it's valid, but unfortunately that comes post this decision to make the lots.
Does it come pre-planning board?
Pardon?
When does it happen?
Yes, we would have to do a delineation prior to going to planning board.
Right.
And that's done independent, or is it hired by their company?
We hire an independent botanist.
So
And no botanist is, and I've dealt with them myself, they're not going to go delineate where it's not supposed to be. At least none of the ones I've dealt with would.
so if they get 3 lots and 2 of them happen to be covered in wetlands, does that mean they lose 2 and not just the 1? Yeah.
Yeah, if they get 3 lots and it's all of a sudden, you know, it shows wetlands is within 100 feet of the road. Okay, well, now with setbacks and everything, you're going to put truly a postage stamp house on it. The use of the lot the lot is now useless.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Steve, I'll just ask you to confirm. I mean, That's been my experience.
Well, exactly. So what happens is, like, whatever happens to these lots, let's just say, like you said, they get approved. Now, Rebecca and the Silver Engineering team have got to have a botanist go out there and check the wetlands. And then the conservation will also look at it. And if they find that the wetlands up, let's just say up for hindsight, they're running right through the middle. Well, then now they won't be able to build because you can't build within a certain distance of wetlands. You can't get a septic system in a certain distance of wetlands. So basically, they've got to go through all the engineering that Silver will put together, and the hiring a botanist and laying it out. So to get a building permit, there's still a lot of steps that have to be put in place. They have to meet all the requirements of Bridgewater, all the requirements of conservation and wetlands. So again, this is guaranteeing them house, like you just said, Brian, it's guaranteeing them a lot. The house part comes afterwards.
Right. And even if we said, okay, we're just going to give you 2, okay, great, you got 2 lots, but now you've got to do all that work to get a house approved on it. With septic, with drainage. I mean, most of the things that, when we look at, mainly for us, if it comes into our purview with the 40B is the drainage.
Yep. Exactly.
Do you have any other questions out from the audience, Jazz or
Walker? Mr. Walker has his hand raised again.
Evan?
Hi, thank you. I don't really see a difference between this development and the 40B. In the 40B, you've requested that they've had the wetlands delineated, ANRADs filed, floodplains calculated. It just so happens that this doesn't have a road in it. It's still going to have multiple buildings and whatnot. So in that regard, I don't necessarily agree with you. But I mean, the bottom line is, with subdividing this into 2 lots, in other words, the existing lot and then a second lot, not 3 lots, the owner is benefiting from doing that. To grant a variance in Massachusetts, I'm sure you already know this, is the zoning board has to find that adhering to the actual bylaw would be a substantial, not just a hardship, but a substantial hardship to the property owner. And they're making themselves a $90,000 or $110,000 or whatever lots go for nowadays out of this regardless. By not getting a second Form A type lot is in no way, it can't even be argued by anyone. It's not a substantial hardship. And the second, one of the last 2 things is it won't pose, one of the other members mentioned it earlier, it won't pose a substantial detriment to the public. Well, you don't know that because you don't have grading on the plan. You don't know where the wetlands are. We have nothing on here to tell us whether or not it will be a substantial detriment to the public. There's not enough information on the plan.
Well, it doesn't, Kevin, in regards to that, again, we are limited in what we can do. You're right. And the hardship can be financial or otherwise. So as far as, and I agree with all the points made, and they need to be addressed in order to get a building permit. But in relation to the detriment, we look at, my understanding, unless somebody else is going to correct me, and if I'm wrong, I'm sure they will, it won't be the first time. Is granting this a detriment? Is granting 2 feet of frontage a detriment when many of the lots in the area don't even have 150 feet? So is the question in my mind is, well, is the 3-foot grant of frontage a detriment to the public good? So instead of having
the other lots meet zoning.
Pardon?
The estate lots that were mentioned, they meet zoning. And then we're talking about lots done in the 1800s.
Lots, I agree with you. Those are estate lots. They only require 30 foot of frontage. That was, and the bylaws in Bridgewater were changed because of those on South Street.
Yeah. I just don't see a substantial hardship out here. It just doesn't exist. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Scott Fletcher would like to speak, please.
Sure.
Thank you.
Scott?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Yep.
Just sort of coming back to Mr. Walker was saying earlier about sort of not having enough information. And I understand that a lot of the drainage issues, things like that can be brought up at a later time, but 147.4 feet of frontage, looking at lot 2, and just knowing this area, there is, like I said, a drainage pipe that goes directly across, probably like about a third of the way up that lot, that DPW's come out and cleared, and like I said, water's flowing there. So, is it possible that the 147 isn't actually accurate because of that, without any type of information on where that water is going to flow? And what happens if we need to somehow facilitate space for that, and now we're losing even more frontage on the lot? I mean, would that not impact the voting on this? Or would we come back for an additional vote, hearing?
The lot frontage is, it is the lot frontage. You're still going to have the same amount of frontage, whether you've got to, put a drainage pipe. Then you get into the whole issue, and Steve can help me out at any time he wants. Now that you got to say, okay, well, there is a pipe right here existing for drainage. You can't block it. So now you're going to have to meld that into your plan for water drainage for the lot itself. Is that
Right,
correct,
that would
Steve?
also, yeah, that would all go through the highway department, because the highway department is in charge of any drainage that's already pre-existing. They're the ones that have to go. And again, we'd bring in the town engineer. He would have to come in and do an assessment of what we have and give the town or the developer or the highway department direction on which way to go with that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the house, no matter what, they can't block the drainage. I'm going to throw it back to Jerry or Anna. Either one of you have any additional questions or comments?
Again, I'm still struggling with this. I understand that it's only, 2.59 feet, but I'm still struggling with the substantial hardship.
I guess, Mr. Chairman, I'd just go back to the detriment part of it, and obviously it's our charge is clear, and it's the 3 plus or minus feet, so public detriment is, if in fact they're approvable, a road could go in there, a lot more impervious surface, and also lose that opportunity for access to the river and basically the public good for residents of the town. So we don't handle the drainage, it's clear. So I guess with all that said, I think you had called it the lesser of two evils. I forget how exactly you put it, Mr. Chairman. But I think what's in front of us is probably a better option than the other one presented.
Jen, do we have any additional people looking to make comments or questions?
I don't see anybody. Jasmine, do you see anybody?
No,
Oh,
no
there's
one's.
a Joe Hanley would like to speak. Unmute yourself, Mr. Hanley.
Hi, Joe Hanley, 2040 South Street. We border lot 2 to its left, and we built a house here 16 years ago, and the water flow coming down that side has been a problem pretty much 16 years. As they said before, there's a pipe coming down underneath the road. It dumps a lot of water, but that whole left side of lot 2, it tends to be a swamp whenever it rains.
Is it the left side looking towards the street, or?
Yep, the border that borders my house.
Yeah, okay.
So all the talk here, I'm just taking it all in and trying to figure out, again, who does what to whom in the town. We went through all this to build this house 16 years ago, and it's kind of rusty now, but drainage is the main thing I'm concerned about. And it sounds like you're saying that's not really your concern, but it is.
Well, it's not that it's not my concern. I think, unfortunately, it's not something we have control over, but I think that you know, the drainage having been brought up, again, I'm gonna go to Steve because I'm not the expert on this, but look, they can't propose a house that's gonna run off onto Mr. Hanley's property, correct?
They cannot. You are not illegally allowed to create any type of runoff from your home into another home. It's not allowed.
Right. And I know from personal experience, you know, in a situation where I did it with a partner of mine years ago, we had to take certain steps to ensure that that didn't happen to the swale and the permeated pipe through it. And so it actually, you know, without making a house next to you could be beneficial to you in the sense that now the people, and this is something where, you know, when they get to this, and I'm not going to advocate going against the building department, but this is where, you know, your voice would have to really be in is on the approved building permit. And if there was a question as to drainage towards your house and further disrupting your property, that's where you would have the main conversation.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Joe.
Also, if anyone's on the phone, I believe it's *9, Jennifer, to raise your hand.
Correct.
I believe that's correct. I don't see anybody else.
Okay. All right. At this stage, if there's no other further questions, I'd like to close the public comment section. Make a motion to do that.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. If one of Rebecca, do you have any additional, having heard from the neighbors and the concerns, any additional comments before the board votes on this?
We're here to ask the board to find that 3 feet of frontage is less of a detriment to the environment and to the neighborhood than a cul-de-sac for 2 lots that we would get regardless. I understand drainage is a concern. I see it on some of these plans where that culvert is. We still have to do all our engineering due diligence before we can go any further. Thank you.
Okay. I would ask that either Jerry or Anna make a motion on this request for variance.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to grant the variance based on all the discussion, and I would just ask that should this motion pass, when the engineers, Rebecca, go forward to the planning board, I would ask that sufficient topography and drainage information is there to at least assist the neighbors in understanding what's in the area, because making sure that the information they have accurate understanding, and my reason for this motion is that in my opinion, I don't believe that it's a substantial detriment to the public good, simply because for a couple of reasons. One is that I'm not sure if we can conditionally approve this, that there is in fact an easement placed or an access placed to the river and the furnishing of a dock as well, similar to what was done on Plymouth Street. And also, my feeling is that to the public good and all we've heard about the drainage this evening in the area, and not being familiar with everything that's in that area, I feel that this would be, if in fact further down the line they have approvals, this would be a much better situation and much less impervious surface being placed into that area.
Thank you. Anna?
So I'm often the one that's reminding Jerry of that we have these rules and that we have to, conform to what is before us. And I think I've been reminded throughout this hearing that we have to conform to what is before us. And what is before us is 2.59 feet, and whether or not we can allow a variance for that amount for frontage. I think I am with Jerry in the sense that I would like there to be, to counterbalance, if you will, all of the concerns that we've had from the neighbors, that there should be something to the effect of, if we vote to allow this, it has to be conditional on the fact that there is an easement and to the Taunton River, as was represented that there, because they were represented that it was thinking about this. So I think that that would be kind of yes, but is my vote, if we can do that.
And just to be clear on the amendment to the motion is that you were looking for that easement, the access to the river in a similar, did I understand that correctly? And then a similar access point like was approved at, on the Murphy site on Plymouth Street?
So, yes.
I will accept that condition.
The only thing I want to bring up is, and somebody did ask about it, is that in relation to Murphy Street easement, there was additional property to allow for parking. You don't have that really here, but there is, I believe, a space down the road. So
right across the street at Sturdivant's Bond, there's a significant amount.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I accept that condition to the motion, Mr. Chairman.
All right. So we have a motion to right now before us to grant the variance requested on the condition that, as put forth by the representative for the applicant, that an easement would be granted to the property in the back. That's something that, again, would, in relation to the property and ownership and whatnot, would have to go before I don't know which board does that.
We would show, again, the next step would be Concom for wetland line approval. We show that all of these easements that we've just discussed on the plan of land. That's where you would actually see it, and it would be recorded at the registry at that point.
All right.
That would be on the Form A. Any easements would be required to be on the Form A.
I'm in agreement with granting the variance with the conditions. Understanding that in my mind, houses can be built here. Question is how many? Maybe they could get 3. And I think if they did with the road, it may not be as beneficial to the neighborhood. I'm concerned with the drainage, but I also think that this is the opportunity, if they have the houses built where the drainage comes into question and hope, well, done right, some of the drainage can be remedied, especially in relation to the neighbors to the right side looking at the lot too. And, with swales and the proper diverting of the water, it can be done. Don't kid yourself, and I think Steve said this earlier, is these will be raised. So that's, the drainage is going to be an issue that has to be resolved as part of the building plans. So, and for those reasons, I'm in agreement with the approval of the variance as requested. So we'll vote on a vote on the motion is.
I vote aye.
A second.
And all approved. Motion as requested is granted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your comments.
I wrote them all down.
Rebecca, are you also presenting this one, this next
I
one?
believe Latola will be covering, although I
Okay.
will stand by if she needs me to.
Next up on the agenda for the board is a use variance in relation to property on Plymouth Street. As it was alluded to here, the applicant is Patricia Latola, Paul Peter Commissioner Latola.
You have Paula Latola, treasurer of Barnfield.
Okay.
I'm
me
the
just-
only one that can do Zoom at all.
Let me just read the public hearing really quickly. The Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on April 28th, 2021 at 7 o'clock for an application filed by Barnfield Inc., 640 Auburn Street, Bridgewater, MA, who is seeking a use variance from section 11.23 of the Bridgewater zoning ordinances to construct a single-family home in the Business B district. Said property is owned by Paula Latola and is located at Plymouth Street, Bridgewater, MA 02324, as shown on Assessor's Map 24, Lot 4A. Oh, I wrote that twice. Area Zone Business B. The public hearing will be held as a virtual meeting over Zoom. A link and instructions to participate in the meeting will follow and be posted to the calendar on the town's website at www.bridgewaterma.org. A recording of the meeting will also be posted to the town's webpage within 48 hours after the meeting ends.
Thank you. Okay, Paula, you're on.
Well, I don't know where you want me to start. Did you drive by this house as you did South Street?
I did. There's the house that's there. Now you're going to be to the left of it. It's the lot to the left of the existing house.
That's correct. And to the left of that is an area that has town drainage. I won't go into how the town drainage got there. But now it has a 20-foot drainage easement. And we would be turning over the whole 140 plus feet to the left of this proposed lot to the town.
Okay.
And it, do you have the small piece of paper, but large plan? Yes, you do. At the back of these three lots where you can see it's delineated, there's into the 19.51 acres, there becomes a little, I don't even think it's an acre of total wetlands that's right behind that. And then there's open field.
Yeah.
So it's not a huge wetlands, but it just happens to be right there. And we would build the same style 26 by 36 home that you saw. And it has only the spot where it says proposed dwelling on the actual lot plan. I don't know who puts those up, but the one that has the red line and the gold line with the proposed dwelling showing, can somebody put that on the screen?
Yep, just.
Yes, that one. We have had the person in that flags it, and Silva Engineering hired them. I don't even know who was there. And Rebecca has drawn this picture. And all I have to say is we've owned the land for over 70 years. The town changed the land to Business B a number of years ago, when just at the end of when we had real town meetings, because whoever does the planning thought it would be better if it was zone business. And as an aside, I will tell you, I have talked to everyone in the world that makes coffee. Nobody wants to come out there. Nobody wants to sell pizza there. I can't find anybody that wants to do anything on that land. So we're asking to have this lot approved as the two next to it were in 2016. There are no septic issues as we ran pipes to Plymouth Street when we built. And whatever questions you have that I might be able to answer, if I can't answer them, I know Rebecca can.
Jerry or, and I remember the project previously.
I would say you have no shot at a package store either, Paula, because Peter Burney has got that pretty well wrapped up.
Well, no, he had talked to us 20 years ago, but we weren't ready. And so my brother worked on that project with Mr. Watson, so.
Yeah, I mean, in that area, you have the Beloli shop construction behind the fire station, and really there's nothing there. I mean, I think it's the most practical use would be a buildable residential lot.
I think one of the reasons we granted it previously too was that because of the wetlands, as you mentioned, the drop off in there, the land was somewhat unusable for the business portion.
Yes, and it is beside houses to the left that my family built in the late 60s, early 70s as well. So, and there are houses all across the street except for Beloli's that is behind the houses.
Do we have anybody in the queue for public comment or anything?
Yes,
Robin Thomas.
Robin Thomas would like to. She's frantically waving her hand.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Hello? Am I
Hello.
here?
Yep.
Robin Thomas, 25 Tecumseh Circle. Hello, Mrs. Latola. I've never had the pleasure. We've lived on Tecumseh Circle for 23 years or so, right behind the field of yours. First of all, we weren't notified of this public hearing in any way, shape, or form, and neither of any of our neighbors who abut this field. Really? And we're not too happy about it. And
oh, your name's on the abutters list.
Well, isn't that funny that none of us were notified? Do you have a card from us?
These are not sent certified.
But did you get? We got no notification whatsoever. None. If I didn't get the emails from the zoning board because I'm on the list, I never would have known about this meeting. And I don't think any of my neighbors either know about this meeting, or they'd be on the phone with you right now. I believe this project because we attended every meeting that was involved with this first project and vehemently against it the first time. You were granted 2 lots and you let the first of the 2 lots expire. We thought we were done.
That is correct.
And we thought we were well done of it. We actually, I met with Mr. Silva, and I met with people from the building department. I met with people from the Concom, and they all tried to settle me down. Relax, Robin, you're not going to have to worry about 40 Bs in your backyard. You're not going to have to worry about a slid-in road coming in off of Whitman Street. It's a done deal. The front is business. They didn't choose to build another house. I actually decided to stay in my house and not sell it based on the word of people in town. I'm not happy that you're coming back now under a new plan to build the same house you were approved for and decided not to do. And I'd like to know why we are even entertaining this tonight.
Because I filed an application and it's the law. I don't know how to respond as far as
because you were denied
tonight.
Well, this is my question. Why is it being entertained tonight when it was approved? She didn't accept it. It was done a done deal. And why is it coming back again? Do we have to keep chasing when we are given one piece of information? Then we're told, let it go, it's done. And then I find out about it a totally different way through the town. And by the way, listing something as 0 Plymouth Street in a town website is unhelpful when everything that's not built on Plymouth Street is 0 Plymouth Street. We have no access to the map, so we can't identify one property from another. It's not a helpful situation. So I have to chase down every 0 Plymouth Street that comes up to make sure it's not this property. And here I am finding out it is this property. It's unfair as a resident to find out something this way and not be prepared the night of. as you can tell, there's nobody around that can speak for me or anybody else. I feel it's an unjust meeting.
Jen, I'm assuming
Yep.
all things were mailed?
Just
Yes, they
confirming
were.
that. So
When?
I pulled up the list of labels and the Thomases are on Robin and William Thomas. Is that correct?
That's correct.
At 25
Takusa.
Takusa Circle. There was one sent, we send it out of our office. We don't send them certified because they come directly out of our office so that we know that we sent them. We only request them certified when the applicant sends them. So we don't send them certified. We mail them directly out of our office. So we sent them all. I can't speak to why it didn't get to you, but we know that we sent it.
Speak to it either, but you have to have some assurance that the abutters are all notified. And we were not, nor was my neighbor, nor was this neighbor. So I can't speak to that. If the post office isn't delivering them, then you should be sending them certified mail. Or the person making an application should be. I mean, it's bad enough everything's gone Zoom and we can't be there to speak to it, but to leave out all notification is impossible for us to be a good informed citizen.
Jen, if what the neighbor or butter is saying is that, I can't speak to nobody receiving.
What were the names of the other neighbors that you were saying didn't receive?
John,
Just so I can look and see.
well, the next door
No.
neighbor to me is brand new, so I don't even know if you have them on file.
What's the address? What's the address?
I'm 25, so they'd be 15, right? 15 Takusa Circle.
So at 15, I have a Brenda and Margaret O'Connor.
Yes, Brendan and Margaret O'Connor.
Well, one was mailed to them as well.
And these were mailed over.
Maybe they just missed our street. Because I believe that only 4 of us abut this property.
Well, we sent to, on your street, we sent to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6.
I don't even believe they abut down there, but that's okay. We don't speak beyond John, so I can't speak beyond John. I just know 15, 25, 35.
We sent it to 30, 45, 35, 25, 15, and 5.
Well, they're not even abutters. They're across the street from us.
Well, abutters are defined as anybody within 300 feet of the property lines.
No, that's fine, but I'm just telling you, the people next door and ourselves did not receive them. Because John doesn't even have Zoom or a computer. We were going to have him over tonight, but he's not well.
Mr. Chairman, it's your decision how you want to proceed. If you want to continue, we can certainly resend the notices. There's quite a few, and I'm told that we're certain they were mailed because we had to ask for additional postage to be put on the meter, and that's how it was. We remembered they were mailed.
Are there any other butters in the meeting as it is now?
There's
Jeremy
Jeremy
Warshaw.
Warshaw. He has his hand raised. He might have something to add to this conversation. I'll unmute you, Mr. Warshaw.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
As far as I know, my neighbors, I'm 66 Whitman Street, which is directly across. As far as I know, my neighbors did not receive anything either, or they'd be calling me constantly. But that's beside the point. My question was, if I remember correctly, when these were presented, that the second house lot would have been to the right of the existing house now. Why is it now?
That is correct.
Mm-hmm.
So can I ask you, Mr. Warshaw, how did you get notice of tonight's hearing?
By mail.
So you received your notice?
Yep. Yes, I did. but guessing from, like I said, the lack of my neighbors talking about it, they don't know.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah,
when did they start sending notices by certified mail and putting it on the applicant to do so?
I'm gonna give that to Jen.
We've never, to my knowledge, from this board, as long as the office sends it out, we don't send it certified mail because it would be an additional cost to the town and the taxpayers. So we send it regular mail if it comes from our office. If we require the applicant to send it, then we require it to be done by certified mail. I know the Conservation Commission has the applicant do the notices and they require it to be done by certified mail. The planning board requires the applicant to do it and they require it to be done by certified mail. I believe the zoning board of appeals, to my knowledge, has always done it themselves and never required it to be certified mail.
May I suggest in the future, if this is going to be an issue, that maybe you do it too? Because well, obviously, this gentleman on Whitman Street got notice, but none of us have. And again, Mr. Is it Mr. Warsaw? I'm sorry.
Warshaw. That's
Warshaw.
okay.
Warshaw is correct. This is a different plan that was turned down originally. It was told that it was too close to the wetlands to come in, and it was put to the right. And I believe Mr. Silva knew that. And that's what
I would like to disagree with that.
you can disagree all you want, but right now.
Okay. Both of you, you can't be arguing with each other in a public meeting.
I've got an issue with the fact that it appears that, this seems to be a contentious issue, and the majority of the abutters, based upon comments made here tonight, did not receive notice.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would just say that, just to be totally correct, we don't know that they didn't receive them. We know at least 2 people received them, but we don't know if they received them and just chose not to attend the meeting. We're not clear on that at all.
Well, based on what Ms. Thomas said, that she found out through other means by checking the website, not by notice in the mail. She also represented, as did Mr. Warshaw, that the neighbors have been very active in this. I would make a motion. I don't know that I'm comfortable hearing the level of discord between the neighbors in this project. I don't think I'm comfortable moving forward without having, at least giving the neighbors the opportunity to be heard. And so I would consider making a motion to continue this hearing to allow for further notice.
I'm Jerry, I'm sorry, but I'm in favor of that. I mean, this seems to be a very contentious issue. And the fact that there is, in my opinion, enough to say that somehow, somewhere, there was some issue with delivery of the notifications.
If I could just second for discussion, Mr. Chairman, I tend to agree. There does seem to be, but I just don't want it on the record as saying that there is a situation. We don't know that. We just know that.
And I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. So I don't want to go on. What would you call it? Hearsay.
Right. The fact is,
we'll make a lawyer out of you yet, Jerry. So.
You're working on it. But I would also, if I could add to it, that the notices, if I could add to your motion, Anna, that the notices be resent by certified mail, just to ensure that if we're going to continue it and we're going to come back, that this won't be an issue, that we'll have the signed receipts and we can dig into the plan itself.
And I would adopt that change to my motion, but my only change would be that it would be at the cost of the applicant. That the applicant would be tasked with sending out certified.
Right, and I mean, Ms. Latola is familiar with that that process, and so can certainly make arrangements to provide the town the currency. And I also would apologize to Ms. Latola because obviously it was not in her control, so it's not her fault. But I think it's pretty clear we all feel that in the best interests of the abutters and the fact that Zoom, we have had issues with people being able to get into the meetings, that at least we want to know that they received the invitation to be here.
All right, Anna, if you want to make a motion.
Actually, it's made and seconded.
Oh, it's already made, all right.
Yeah.
When
right.
would you, when does the board want to continue the hearing to? So 2 weeks is your next meeting, which is May 12th. I'm just wondering if that's enough time to notify abutters.
I can
What's the-
send them out
Notify.
tomorrow, Jennifer.
Okay, if we can make that amendment, we can, that's fine.
But I can't, I don't know how long it will take to get there. But we can send them tomorrow.
Well, can they be sent next day or 2 days?
I don't know.
Certified return receipt requested is just whatever I don't know what the post
Yeah,
office
it's just
policy is on
standard,
that.
not-
I don't know if you
Just
can.
standard mail.
let's see. I mean, but.
Chairman,
they're
are
all
you still
approved.
taking public comment at this time?
Do we have additional people?
Well, Mrs. Thomas would like to speak again.
We have a motion on the floor
Yeah,
that we're debating,
Yeah.
so we can't take public comment during that.
The next would be the 26th then.
Right, so those are your next two meetings, the 12th and the 26th.
Anna,
Why couldn't they just be sent next day or 2 day with a return receipt requested?
well, they're all certified.
Well, I'm sure they can be sent next day, but it's probably like $8 a letter.
Yeah, we wouldn't know that fee yet.
I don't know that cost, and right now, if I'm looking, let me look at how.
Well, I
many
think
there
at this point, we've got Ms. Latola hanging here through no fault of her own because she didn't control the mailing process. And so I don't think a month down the road is fair to her. And so let's face it, if we messed up, then we own it. And I don't care if it's $8, but let's just try to get back here.
Well, so I'm just going to take
Just
offense to
don't
that
know.
because I don't believe that we messed up. I believe that the office did their job, but there's about 50 people here, so that's the cost that we would be talking about.
and so
Yeah,
the May 12th
and
is 2
somebody
weeks.
got it.
I mean, I
I'm
think
not
that should be sufficient for the postal service to get there 2 weeks. That's more than enough, I think.
And I
Okay.
don't, I'm not accusing that something got messed up, but I'm just saying that at this point, let's just get it right.
Well, at this stage, I'd say, let's move it to the 12th. These are all going in Bridgewater. If they're mailed at the Bridgewater post office, they'll get there within 2 weeks.
I say we put it as a 2 day with return receipt. I just think that then we're sure we're guaranteed, and we're also allowed enough time for the abutters to see it, and we're, I think, showing respect to Ms. Latola that we're not going out to a 4-week turnaround. So if you would accept it as part of your motion, I would like to put it that we send it out. We can fight about the money later, but if we can send it out, 2 day return receipt.
I don't even know logistically how that would work, but I'll do what I can do.
It works. I do it.
Okay.
Are you talking, is this through the post office?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Anna?
I would make a motion to continue the meeting to ensure that the butters are noticed. I would ask that it be done, return receipt, 2 days, and then the meeting would be continued until May 12th
At 7 p.m.
at 7 p.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carried. So we're going to continue this meeting until May 12th for a re-notification of all abutters. At this time, I think we do have to close the public comment.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Ms. Latola, you've been privy to the conversation here. We are going to re-notify the abutters, apologize, but right now, what we've heard so far is that there is a potential that a number of the abutters did not get this. And
Yeah, I heard that, and that's fine. And when Jennifer figures out how much it's going to cost, I'll be happy to write a check, and hopefully with these people won't be trespassing anymore. As
right.
they all abut our land and they all treat it as theirs.
Okay, mute.
Okay, well, thank you. We will see you back again on May 12th at 7 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Toll.
Yeah, you assholes.
Okay, then.
Okay, is everybody off?
No, no.
Yeah, we're gonna
We
close.
You have minutes to approve if you want to.
Pardon?
Jasmine, can you stop sharing the screen?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Thanks.
I don't think everybody is off.
No.
Okay. So if you can, make arrangements to get those resent to the abutters, it'd be appreciated.
I'll go.
Yep,
I'll ask the
we'll
post
do that in the
office.
morning.
There's still public, we're still open.
Yep. I believe you have minutes to be approved if you want to do that.
Okay, everybody looked at the minutes?
Yes,
Any issues with the minutes?
nope. Make a motion to approve the minutes of 4/14/2021.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the minutes of the 14th are approved. At this time, I don't think there's anything else before the board. Motion to close the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. This one will be closed up.
All right, everybody's gone now.
Okay. This didn't go as quick and as smooth as we might have thought. But, in relation to this one, it seems pretty contentious. And, just to avoid any issues, I think the 2-week continuance, and as alluded to by Ms. Latola, she's willing to cover the costs of some of these out, so.
I mean, unfortunately, under these conditions, we're just not able to guarantee people are even getting in when we had the problem before. So better safe than sorry.
Yeah, it potentially could create issues if someone's going to appeal it, and that's what's going on in my mind. So, all right. Well,
Okay. Sounds
Good night,
great.
thank you, everybody.
See you soon.
Thanks. Have a good
Have a good
afternoon, evening.
We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
All right. Bye.